in the spirit of Christmas by talking about snow and snowflakes. Jon Snow, to be precise, though it's probably not the Jon Snow you were thinking of at home. It is this Jon Snow, the newsreader at Channel 4 who has decided to call time on his career after 32 years. This article reads, the 74-year-old, who is one of the UK's longest-serving TV news presenters, told BBC Radio 4's media show last week that his departure would be like leaving a marriage. He presented Channel 4 News for the last time at 7 p.m. last night. Co-presenter Krishnan Guru Murphy described Snow as the most energetic, enthusiastic, committed and questioning TV journalist who brought compassion and humanity to his reporting, whether in the studio, war or disaster zone. He added, it is no wonder viewers love him or that politicians who get angry with his questions respect him. His last day has been an emotional one for the whole newsroom. We knew it was coming but can't quite believe it is happening now. Now, Channel 4 gave him a send-off by putting together a compilation video of the 32 years that he worked for the broadcaster, if we get the next one up here. And I'm not going to play the video because it's a bit long and a little bit cringe, but you can basically see him posturing a very embarrassing hairstyle, obviously because he started in the late 80s, having a famous showdown with Alistair Campbell, interviewing Nelson Mandela, carrying the Olympic torch for the London 2012 Games, covering several stories in the Third World, having an interview with the actual Jon Snow, taking part in Channel 4's pretty pointless live marijuana trial, if you had the displeasure of seeing that, because he was a notorious stoner in his youth, I'm led to believe. He was wearing all sorts of eccentric ties, singing with Catherine Tate, and of course, covering the EU referendum, Trump and the Brexit fallout, where he rose to a whole new level of prominence. A whole lot of people have offered tributes, of course, as you'd expect if we move on to the next one. So if you scroll down, you can see that they ended with the credits entirely attributed to Jon Snow. Yeah, just if you scroll a little bit more to the picture, who was credited for voice, mentor, leader, inspiration, driving force, moral compass, and friend. It's, this one here. So there we are. This is Channel 4's moving tribute.
He is a god.
He is literally a god. Yep. And other tributes included Channel 4 News' correspondent Kieran Jenkins, who shared a video of Snow performing a sea shanty that went viral on TikTok earlier this year. I've no idea. I don't use TikTok. And the ITV news presenter Lucrezia Molinar, I'm not going to read that out, described Snow as a legend, adding, wow, a constant on-screen presence in my household growing up. Then I was lucky enough to work in the same building. And
so I've got to mention just how crap we are with names we can't pronounce.
I know, I can't. I'll put my hands
all
up.
of us like this.
Yeah. But yeah, he's particularly popular among leftists, such as Dawn Butler, if we get the next one up here. So yes, we will miss you, Jon.
Because Jon and Channel 4 being a hive of leftism. I mean, I just remember that name of the presenter who I can't fully remember now, the one who was first mentioned and giving such a roaring ovation to Mr. Snow. I don't know if you've seen, he interviewed Nesreen Malik a while back on Channel 4. But it's anyway just propping up fellow leftists, and she's a nutcase. And in the interview itself, she's just running apologia for Charlie Hebdo's killers, and it's just like, what the fuck? And she does this in front of him, and he's like, oh, interesting points. Keep he
didn't actually push back on the justification of Blimenek.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it seems to be in keeping with the way Channel 4 like to do things. I suppose given that Jon Snow has served 32 years at Channel 4 as a newsreader, I guess he deserves some tributes. I mean, that is an awfully long time. But I think it's fair to say that he also deserves to be remembered for his pretty naked biases, which he's exhibited in the last 5 years, especially since the EU referendum. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't know about you, but before the build-up to the EU referendum, I'd barely even taken notice of Jon Snow. But he has, in short, proved himself, particularly in the referendum's aftermath, to be a pretty ardent Remainer, which is in keeping with the rest of Channel 4. But anyway, he moderated a debate on the 10th of January in 2019 called What Young People Really Think, which, as suggested in the title, is comprised of young people who couldn't vote at the time, but can, at the time of the debate, they were basically rounded up to basically have it out as to what the future of Britain should be in or outside of the European Union. And he found himself to be...
We're asking people who can't vote because they're so young. They're not even given the right to vote.
Yeah, and he found himself...
This is relevant at all to the actual discussion about the referendum.
He found himself to be rather surprised, basically, by how articulate some of the young leavers turned out to be. So if we play the first clip...
Yeah, let's hear from you. I think the whole campaign actually patronised young people a lot, and still is, especially the People's Vote campaign, because they've been trying to sort of buy young people off, especially with things like cheap holidays, and they're not talking about the real issues, about the way our country has gone for the last 40 years, austerity in Greece imposed by the EU, all of these really important things. And Parliament has completely missed the point as well.
The EU imposed austerity on Britain?
No, on Greece, but the EU's locked us into a neoliberal straitjacket.
I thought you were implying that Britain had had its austerity imposed by the...
No, but it locks us into a neoliberal economic model. And if we want to make real change in Britain, which is what is needed after what we've seen, the complete rejection of the status quo that was the Brexit vote, we need to leave.
Yes, as you can tell, Jon Snow...
Was that a Joe Biden moment there?
Almost. Well, you could say like for like, but he's attacking a straw man here. The young lad has made a perfectly intelligible point about Britain perhaps not wanting to be a part of a neoliberal project that it doesn't have any democratic vote over, and he immediately jumps to the assumption that he's talking about. He quite clearly heard that he was talking about the EU imposing austerity on Greece. He never once mentioned the EU imposing austerity in Britain, but he's looking for cracks nonetheless, because obviously he's come to this debate assuming that these awful leavers, don't know what they're talking about.
Or you could just make up what they're talking about.
Or you can just make up what they're talking about and everyone else will buy it. But his point was that Britain, obviously was being subsumed into a neoliberal framework, and that it did not consent to was the reason why a lot of people needed to leave, because the Brexit vote was a rejection of the status quo based almost entirely around its subsumption into that framework. This was the centre point of the Leave position, if anything was. Both Corbyn's camp and hardline Eurosceptics, what was united in this contempt of neoliberalism. They, of course, had a very different idea of what they'd put in its place, but Corbyn voted against the Maastricht Treaty with many other Tory rebels. So if anything is a stable Brexit position, it is that. But the funny thing is, Jon Snow continued to look around the room, and he kept picking out more and more levers, all offering different reasons as to why stopping Brexit is a bad idea. Most of them, in short, were not out-and-out Brexiteers, but rather defending Theresa May's deal at the time on the pragmatic grounds that it's perhaps better to have a compromise than to end up staring down the barrel of a political crisis or leaving without a deal. I mean, I would argue that deal was not really a compromise at all, but anyway. Jon Snow proceeds to pick out a young man who is a member of Wakefield's Youth Parliament, Labour, and the young man argues for a left Eurosceptic position and leaves Jon Snow almost speechless. And Snow basically cries out to the room in a desperate attempt to find a Remainer or an advocate of Stop Brexit, only to then find another person advocating for the respect of the referendum. So let's get this up.
Oh, yeah. So I'd just like to comment on his neoliberal point, really. I'm actually the member of Youth Parliament for Wakefield, so obviously Jeremy Corbyn spoke in my constituency yesterday. Really, in terms of neoliberal policy, the EU actually makes different member states privatise different public sector industry, different public sector.
So you feel basically we should leave?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's an interesting number of leave. Clearly the Remainers don't feel very strong voiced tonight. Anybody got anything you'd like to say?
Help.
I feel like having a second referendum is quite dangerous as an idea. I feel like once we were told that people told us a once a generation thing, and then suddenly people are now asking for a second vote, although I would have voted Remain, I feel like it kind of devalues a vote, and that you've now set a precedent that what should be a final say, imagine like in the 1970s when they were voting on the common market, if people who are our age suddenly said, well, we don't want it, can we have a second vote? You kind of mess around with the actual idea of democracy.
So here's an opponent of a second referendum. How many of you actually want the opportunity to vote?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the Remainers revealed themselves there. But Jon Snow clearly turned up expecting the youth to be a united front on this subject of the European Union, or maybe there to be about 2 or 3 deplorables. Expecting to hear a course of support of how it's literally going to be Armageddon, a course of support for a people's vote, how all the old basically stole the young's future, etc., etc., etc. And that was all in the first 5 minutes. I mean, that must have been a massive shock for him, but clearly he's if you're working for an organisation like Channel 4, you're immediately almost going to assume that it's as clear cut as is being presented.
Yeah. Do you remember the election results? Like when they came through the snap, what was it? The polling for Boris Johnson and the groans from Channel 4. Like a lot of people just have that clip that's like saved in their computer because it's wonderful.
Yeah, it just says everything. But he basically almost went into that, moderating it. not looking like a moron necessarily, but looking a little bit like a headless chicken, anticipating something entirely different. Anyway, I must move on to his most mask-off moment, if you like, which occurred during his coverage of a pro-Brexit protest organised by UKIP in 2019. Now, we of course have to put this into perspective. The day that this occurred was the 23rd of July, stated repeatedly by Theresa May as the day we were supposed to leave the European Union, Brexit Day. And while it didn't happen because she couldn't get her deal passed through the House of Commons, at this point the People's Vote campaign was gaining traction. In the same month, 1 million people took to the streets of London to campaign for a second referendum. Corbyn had finally capitulated on a second referendum, not officially, but we could tell it was leaning that way because Keir Starmer was gaining in confidence. Well, Theresa May's deal was pretty much dead. And it really did feel like the Remainer coup was working. So there was a lot of anger from the Brexiteers' side. It was starting to boil over a little bit. And to be honest, a betrayal seemed to be happening in front of the very eyes of everyone who voted Brexit. And so many of these Brexiteers, mostly ordinary, I would say, working class people, turned up to this protest organised by UKIP. And the point of the protest was basically to illustrate the utter farce. The utter farce that is happening in Parliament. And this is how Jon Snow covered the matter.
It has been the most extraordinary day, a day which has seen, I've never seen so many white people in one place. It's an extraordinary story. There are people everywhere. There are crowds everywhere.
This actually reminds me of a video that went viral about a weather woman commentating on rain. Have you seen that? When
Right.
she literally looks like she's acting in the day after. She's acting in the day after tomorrow.
Yeah. I just remember, I think, John, weren't me and you actually at that protest? Yeah.
Were you?
So, where were the white people?
No, I mean, he's literally reporting as if an insurrection is about to happen, which of course it didn't, and because it literally looks
No,
like
the insurrection was coming from the guys arguing for a second referendum.
Yes, precisely.
I didn't even vote for Brexit.
They were literally protesting the insurrection. And as you can see, there were as many police dressed in riot gear as there were actually people at the protest. But it's just utterly absurd claims. I mean, the person who uploaded that video that we just saw actually refers to the 2011 census, which shows, well, 87% of people in the UK at that point were registered as white. And having made this remark, we can only assume that he's literally never been anywhere outside of London in the United Kingdom. I mean, what else could the conclusion be?
Yes. Oh my God, white people. How has that happened? It's like, you must only live in London if you're so shocked by that.
Yes. But anyway, he was investigated by Ofcom for this remark, if you recall, because of the level of complaints received. So if we get this up.
I mean, just imagine the reverse. I know it's a bit of a meme thing to do, but no, I've never seen so many brownies before.
Yeah, oh God.
Instantly fired.
You would, instantly fired. You probably would have had, I don't know, 10 times, if not more than that, and by the way of complaints. This received 2,717 complaints after Jon Snow said that. And well, he was... Channel 4 did actually release, he was found to have been not in breach of Ofcom's code, as his comments were apparently factually accurate. And did not use...
Sorry, no, we checked. We brain scanned Jon Snow to see every memory, and he had not seen so many white people before. Therefore... What kind of statement is that?
I know, but they continue to say they judged that he did not use negative or pejorative language, tone, intent, or implication.
Why did he say it? What was the implication of him saying it?
Yeah.
There's lots of white people at this protest.
Oh my God, it's Armageddon.
But also, it must be bad. Why? Why is white people being a protest bad?
Yeah.
The reverse argument is like, well, there's a lot of black people at this protest, therefore, it's like, right, okay, that person is instantly fired, instantly just kicked out of the mainstream, not allowed to even be on any kind of television show. Never mind an Ofcom regulated one.
Yeah.
And no, Jon Snow just gets away with it.
Yep. And well, Channel 4 did try to alleviate this by issuing an official apology by saying Jon has covered major events such as this over a long career, and this was a spontaneous comment reflecting his observation that in the London demonstration of that size, ethnic minorities seem to be significantly underrepresented. Well, no offense, John, but you were there.
But also, according to the country's census, no. As well, as you were saying, like the country is overwhelmingly white, therefore the protest being overwhelmingly white, why would that be a shock?
Yeah.
Also, that doesn't even make it underrepresented. It's only underrepresented if you compare it to a London borough.
Yes, and well, more to the point, why does the bloody demographic even matter?
Yes.
This is not an issue about race at all. It's a matter of British sovereignty. it doesn't matter. The skin colour of those people does not matter. It is what they're acting in virtue of that matters. But anyway,
That's not the news. We have the racial forecast instead.
Collapsing that into whiteness is kind of just as bigoted as if you'd done that with any other race. But anyway, I would like to end in an attempt at good spirit by giving Jon Snow some places to avoid for his well-deserved retirement.
He doesn't want to see any white people.
Because he doesn't want to see any white people.
Yeah.
And all of these places are at least, 98% white? I mean, we can actually sort it if you click on the percentage bit. And the next, yes. So, John, avoid Allerdale, Eden, the Scilly Isles, Mid Devon, Rydale, Staffordshire Moorlands, Turridge, Derbyshire Dales, North Norfolk, and so on. Shall we actually take it? I picked out one of these, Rydale, in fact. Shall we have a look at how awful Rydale is?
What? Oh, God.
Oh, dearie me.
Oh, no. John, keep away.
John, but don't move there. You'll literally die. Oh, my, look at that protest. Oh, my God.
Oh, it looks lovely.
Yeah, to be fair, it does look like the sort of place where Midsummer Murders would be filmed.
Yeah, there might be some white people there, John.
Yeah.
Better stay
out.
out.
My God, never go there, John. An insurrection is happening.
Yeah, some people talking about, what is that? Free
Yeah.
world?
Yeah. Yeah, instead, John, maybe you should try holidaying in, well, the least white places, which are Newham, Brent, or Harrow. Oh, no, wait, that's all London.
You're already in London.
Yes.
You'll be fine.
Jon Snow, thank you very much for your service. Have a happy retirement.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this article, which is written by Hugo, called The War on Drugs, brought to you by the Tories on Cocaine. There is also an audio track for silver and gold tier members if you'd like to listen instead of reading, because I know how difficult reading can be sometimes. Anyway, if you'd like to get all the updates on what's coming out, you can always follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com for the @. Thank you and goodbye.